Far beyond the core of the Galactic Union's known space, deep in the shadowed edges where star charts grew faint and uncertain, a strange distress signal pierced the silence. It was not like the usual automated alerts or carefully encoded calls for help that the Union had grown accustomed to. Instead, this signal was raw, urgent, and hauntingly desperate, echoing across the void with a tone that unsettled even the most experienced officers. The message came from a remote planet, barely recorded on any maps and long considered too dangerous or insignificant to explore thoroughly. When the signal reached the Union's command center, it sparked immediate debate. Some leaders argued that sending a rescue mission would risk too many lives, especially since the planet was rumored to be a death trap, a place where only the toughest could survive. Others believed that every life deserved a chance, and that ignoring such cries would betray the Union's ideals of aid and protection. Yet beneath the official discussions, whispers spread through the corridors about the Deathworlders, a fierce breed of humans originally from Earth, a species whose reputation stretched across galaxies for their brutal resilience and unmatched combat skills. Tales told of their ability to thrive in the most hostile environments, their refusal to ask for help, and their strange way of answering alien calls not with pleas, but with force. The Deathworlders did not send rescue teams. They sent fleets. The rumors painted them as both saviors and predators, a paradox that fascinated and frightened many. Despite warnings from advisors who feared provoking unknown dangers, Commander Joran Vec, a veteran of many Union campaigns, made the difficult decision to send a reconnaissance ship. His belief was simple. Understanding this signal was too important to ignore, no matter the risk. The ship, sleek and equipped with the latest scanning technology, slipped through the dark expanse toward the origin of the distress call. As it neared the planet's orbit, the crew prepared for whatever they might find. They knew this mission could uncover something extraordinary, or lead them into a trap that would test the limits of their courage and resolve. Below them, the planet waited, its surface shrouded in storms and mystery, home to creatures and humans alike who had survived by mastering danger. What secrets would this strange signal reveal? Would it be a cry for salvation, or a warning that the Deathworlders' fierce legacy was far from finished? The tension aboard the ship was thick, the silence of space contrasting with the storm of questions racing through every mind. With every mile closer, the unknown grew larger, and the promise of discovery mixed with the shadow of peril. The story of the Deathworlders was about to unfold, and the galaxy held its breath. The Union ship finally slipped into orbit above the planet that had sent the strange distress signal, a world scarred by violent storms, jagged mountain ranges, and endless deserts that seemed to stretch without mercy. From their vantage point, the crew could see sprawling settlements scattered across the hostile landscape, clusters of human life that clung stubbornly to the planet's surface despite the unforgiving conditions. These were not ordinary colonies. The structures were heavily fortified, built from tough metals and reinforced glass, designed to withstand both the brutal weather and the dangerous creatures that roamed freely beyond the safety of the walls. As the ship's sensors scanned the planet, data streamed in showing how these humans had adapted every part of their environment to survive. Crop fields engineered to thrive in acid rain, water recycling systems far beyond anything the Union had seen, and transport vehicles armored for battle rather than comfort. The people here followed a code unlike any the crew had known before. No begging for aid, no surrender under pressure, and a fierce determination to protect what was theirs at all costs. This code wasn't just about survival. It was a way of life passed down through generations who had faced the planet's many dangers and emerged stronger. Slowly, the crew began to understand that the distress signals they had received were not pleas for rescue, but battle calls. The humans were not calling out for help. They were summoning reinforcements, readying fleets to answer a threat with overwhelming power. The Deathworlders didn't seek mercy or pity. They sent ships to crush enemies before they could strike again. As the realization settled in, unease mixed with awe among the crew. They were dealing with a people who viewed the universe through the lens of strength and survival, whose actions were guided by the belief that weakness was a path to extinction. Communications with the ground revealed disciplined voices, calm but firm, explaining that every message was a signal to rally forces against an alien menace that threatened not only their planet, but the wider galaxy. The Deathworlders had no illusions about being heroes in the traditional sense. They were warriors shaped by their environment, harsh and unyielding, yet driven by an unshakable loyalty to their own kind. The crew watched as massive ships launched, from hidden docks, sleek and powerful, prepared to meet the unknown enemy head-on. It became clear that the stories they had heard were only half the truth. These humans had survived not by hiding, but by meeting every danger with overwhelming force, and they expected their new Union allies to understand that helping here meant standing ready to fight, not simply to save. The ship's captain sent a steady stream of reports back to Union Command, painting a picture of a world where survival was earned through strength, and every call for help was a call for war. As they prepared to descend to the surface and meet these enigmatic Deathworlders, face to face, the crew braced themselves. They knew that beyond the planet's storms and rocky hills awaited a challenge unlike any before, one that would test not only their courage, but the very meaning of what it meant to help and to fight in this vast, dangerous universe. When the Union crew finally set foot on the rugged surface of the Deathworld, they expected to meet cautious, perhaps wary allies, ready to cooperate but reserved. Instead, what greeted them was a scene that stirred awe and tension in equal measure. A bustling war council deep within a fortified compound, where humans moved with purposeful urgency, their faces hardened by years of struggle and survival. These were not ordinary colonists. They were warriors in every sense, planning fleets of ships and strategies as if preparing for a battle that could decide the fate of entire star systems. The Deathworlders spoke plainly and without hesitation, explaining that their planet was a crucible where only the strongest survived. Here, weakness was a death sentence, and every threat was met with decisive, overwhelming force. Unlike the gentle rescue missions the Union had grown used to, these humans operated on a different principle. When they received cries for help from other planets under attack, they did not rush in with peacekeepers or negotiators. Instead, they sent fleets to hunt down the invaders before the enemy could spread chaos or destruction further. The Deathworlders believed that true help was not saving victims after the fact, but stopping the threat at its source. As the Union crew listened, they learned that the intercepted alien cries were signals from worlds already under siege, calls for aid that had no hope unless met with force. The Deathworlders' strategy was clear and ruthless in its efficiency. Locate the enemy, strike hard, and prevent the conflict from expanding. The War Council was filled with maps, star charts, and digital displays showing the movements of alien fleets that had already destroyed several nearby colonies. Plans were made to intercept these enemies before they could regroup, and every member of the Council understood that failure meant extinction, not just for their planet, but for countless others in the region. The humans did not seek glory or honor in battle. Their goal was survival and protection of those they considered family. The Union crew felt the weight of the decision before them. This was no simple rescue operation, but a call to join a fight on unfamiliar terms. The Deathworlders' code left no room for hesitation or mercy. It was a test of resolve, where the stakes were survival itself. The atmosphere in the War Council was intense but focused, the air thick with determination, as plans solidified and ships prepared for launch. The Union officers realized that aligning with these humans meant embracing their way of warfare. A fierce, relentless defense born of hardship and sharpened by countless battles. As the briefing ended, the Deathworlders welcomed the Union crew, not just as allies, but as participants in a larger struggle. A struggle where mercy was replaced by strength and hope was carried on the wings of warships. The crew left the meeting with a newfound respect for these dangerous humans and a deep understanding that the future of many worlds might depend on their willingness to fight as fiercely as the Deathworlders did. The rescue mission had transformed into a war council, where strategies were made not to save, but to conquer threats before they could grow, and the galaxy's balance hung on the edge of a blade sharpened by the harsh realities of the Deathworld. As the Union crew spent more time with the Deathworlders, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface, born from the clash of two very different ways of seeing the universe. The Union had always believed in diplomacy, negotiation, and mercy whenever possible, while the Deathworlders lived by a harsher creed, one that judged strength as the truest form of justice. At first, the crew struggled to understand the brutal nature of the Deathworlders' approach. Their methods were relentless and unyielding, often seeming cold and ruthless to those used to more measured responses. Yet as they witnessed the results of these tactics firsthand, the swift end to enemy incursions, the protection of entire regions from devastation, the crew could not deny that this approach worked where diplomacy had failed. The Deathworlders were not simply fighters, they were survivors shaped by centuries of living on a planet where weakness meant death. Slowly, a new understanding began to take hold. The crew saw that this was not cruelty for its own sake, but a careful, strategic form of domination designed to prevent suffering before it could start. Together, the Union and the Deathworlders began to coordinate a defense plan unlike any the galaxy had seen before, one that rejected mercy in favor of strength, speed, and calculated force. The humans shared their hard-earned survival skills, teaching the Union soldiers how to read the harsh environment, how to move silently through deadly terrain, and how to turn the planet's dangers into weapons against their enemies. Combat training went beyond weapons and tactics. It became a lesson in endurance, resilience, and adapting quickly to chaos. The Deathworlders' strategies emphasized surprise attacks, controlling the battlefield, and striking decisively before enemies could react. The Union crew absorbed these lessons with growing respect, realizing that this new way of fighting could change the balance of power across the stars. Nights were spent in briefings and drills, with Deathworlder veterans recounting stories of past battles where only those who embraced this fierce mindset had survived. These tales, far from glorifying violence, highlighted the necessity of strength in a universe that did not forgive weakness. The two groups learned from each other. While the Union contributed their advanced technology and broad experience, the Deathworlders offered a gritty, unbreakable will that inspired even the most cautious to rise above fear. Slowly, old prejudices began to fade, replaced by a shared goal that transcended differences. The crew realized that to face the growing alien threat, they needed to adopt this new mindset, one that accepted the harsh truths of survival and the power of decisive action. As plans were finalized and fleets prepared to launch, a powerful bond formed between the Union soldiers and the Deathworlders, a bond forged not in peace, but in readiness for war. This alliance, born from understanding and respect, promised to be the galaxy's strongest defense, proving that sometimes survival requires more than kindness. It demands courage, unity, and the willingness to fight as fiercely as the deadliest. Deathworlders themselves. The day the alien invaders finally arrived was unlike any the galaxy had ever witnessed. A day when skies filled with shadowy warships and the silent tension of countless lives waiting for the first shot to ring out was broken by the thunder of battle. The Deathworlders, fierce and unyielding, took the lead, their ships cutting through the enemy lines with precision and raw power, born from centuries of surviving the harshest conditions imaginable. Alongside them, the Union forces, newly trained and inspired by the Deathworlders' relentless spirit, moved in perfect coordination, their combined fleets creating a wall of fire and steel that stunned the invaders who had expected easy conquest. The battle raged over the Deathworld's rugged surface, and through the depths of space, a fierce clash of wills and technology that tested every ounce of courage from both sides. As the dust of the conflict settled, it became clear that humanity's reputation as dangerous Deathworlders was not just a story told in whispers and rumors. It was a reality proven in fire and blood. These humans did not come with empty promises or calls for mercy. They answered every cry for help with ships ready to fight, to destroy, and to protect. The alliance forged on this brutal planet was unlike any the galaxy had seen before. It was a partnership built on trust, earned through hardship, on strength proven in battle, and on a shared understanding that survival required more than kindness. It required unity, resilience, and an unwavering will to stand against any threat. No matter how terrifying, the Deathworlders and Union forces, once strangers with different beliefs and tactics, now fought as one, a fierce shield protecting countless worlds from falling into darkness. The galaxy, watching from afar, recognized the shift in power and purpose. Where once hope might have been found only in diplomacy, now it was carried forward by warriors who knew that sometimes the best way to save lives was to meet danger head-on, with strength and determination that never wavered. This fierce alliance not only changed the course of the battle, but reshaped the future of countless civilizations, proving that when faced with extinction, humanity's greatest weapon was not just technology or firepower, but the courage to fight together, to rise above fear, and to stand unbroken as the galaxy's fiercest defenders. The story of the Deathworlders and the Union became a beacon of hope and a warning to any who dared threaten peace. Help might not always come gently, but it would come with unstoppable force, ready to protect and to conquer the darkness before it could spread. The echoes of this battle would be remembered for generations, a testament to the strength born on a harsh death world and carried by those brave enough to answer the call, not with words, but with action.